Welcome back to the Keri Croft Show. In this episode, I sit down with Sherome Hathaway. Sherome and his wife Eryn are two powerhouses in the Columbus community. They've created ICE Mentors Eryn Pink with the goal of inspiring the boys and girls youth of Columbus through powerful experiences and positive examples. My conversation with Sherome went pretty deep. We talked about gun violence, about connecting with people who have different backgrounds and life experiences than you. And we also talked about he and Eryn and how they stay grounded and lead by faith and not fear in a world that is increasingly complex and scary. This guy's energy is contagious, and we could all take a page out of Sherome's book, in my opinion. Sherome, I appreciate you. I'm humbled and honored to know you, and I love knowing that you're out there doing amazing things. Anybody out there who wants to know more about ICE Mentors Eryn Pink, you can go to icementors.org or erynpink.com, and it's ERYN pink.com. Without further ado, introducing Sherome Hathaway. Right, Sherome Hathaway is in the house. How are you, Sherome?
I'm feeling great.
You're looking good.
Thank you.
I mean, you look like $1 million bucks.
You know,
What does your shirt say?
image, character, etiquette.
Oh, so good way to enter into the conversation, right?
That's right.
All right. So for those of you out there that do not know Sherome Hathaway, you need to look him up, him and his wife, Eryn. So ICE Mentors is basically an Eryn Pink, right? That's why you're here today. I was there recently, and I think you guys are doing some great things in the community.
Thank
and
you.
I wanted other people to hear about it, right? So, and
that,
here
yeah.
we are. So what my first question for you, Sherome, is, you know, and you said you've been listening to some of my podcasts, so you know that I like to go in, I like to go back, and I like to know like the Sherome when he was like 2 and 3 and 4 and how you came to be in this position where you're being called to, you know, get into these kids' lives and really like give them the mentorship they may not get without what you guys are doing. So what was your life like when you were little?
Well, it's funny. So growing up, I am a Columbus, Ohio native. I grew up in Columbus City schools. You know, middle school, I went to several middle schools. I'm elementary, so I'll skip that part. But middle school was Johnson Park, started at Eastmoor, and ended up graduating in Reynoldsburg when we finally moved there. But I was just a very, unique kid. I just well-liked, always had a lot of friends. And I think my travels to different schools and different areas kind of allowed me to meet people, build great relationships. I mean, even today, I got people that I'll call from middle school to still do work with us and partner with us. One of my great friends from my 5th grade is doing mentorship along with me. So I've just been good at building relationships with people and just building strong rapport. So that's kind of like my...
Where did you get that from?
It's funny because I have a blended family. I grew up with a blended family. So I had my mom, my dad, my stepdad, and I have a stepmom. So I took a little bit from every one of them. And when you're younger, you're like, I don't know, like the stepdad. I don't know if I like my stepmom.
Oh, yeah.
But as you grow and become more mature, you learn to appreciate a little bit about everything. But I'll say eventually, but my birth mother and my birth father, they had great personalities. I mean, my father is well-liked. He's a funny guy. People just love to engage with my dad. He still says things. He's 78 years old, will be 78 this year. My mom was a hairdresser, so she would take a lot of information just from everybody that she met. She used to own her own salon. She was an entrepreneur. So, people just knew my mom to be jazzy. I mean, she was stylish. It was just all the above about that. And then my stepdad, they're both funny. My stepdad and my stepmom were extremely hardworking. They were like the disciplined people. And then my mom and my dad were like the high energy, the character people. They were like the well-liked. So life of the party, if you do a personalities test, you got the D and the I people. So I just had the perfect mix. So I think that's what came to me growing up.
I mean, what's funny is like, I'm just sitting here, we are 5 minutes into this conversation and I'm already like this. You are literally like energy personified. Like you were called to do this.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you.
And I like what you said about, when you were younger, not knowing if you would like your stepmom or your stepdad. I had the same thing. I had a stepmom and stepdad. And what I learned early on not just about that, but
Yeah.
in life with people in general, is like, take those things, you can learn from everybody.
Absolutely.
You can learn what not to be. You can learn a little bit of what to be, and then you put that in your little recipe,
That's
in your
right.
little crock pot, right?
Yeah,
And then you
yeah.
create this like insanely amazing adult if you have the wherewithal
That's
to
right.
do that. And that sounds like that's what you did.
That's exactly what I did. I mean, I've taken the good, I've taken the bad. I said, this is what I'm not going to do. These are things that I am going to do. And I use those things in my family today. So,
I love it. So
yeah.
speaking of your family,
Uh-huh.
Eryn, let's take a minute for this woman.
Sure.
And I was, of course, met you guys. We'll talk about that. Met you a couple months ago. And then I have been watching you and reading about you and trying to learn what I can about ICE Mentors and,
Sure.
and Eryn Pink. And so Eryn is a dominant force too.
Oh, she's probably more dominant.
So let's take a minute for how you met Eryn.
Yeah.
And then we'll go from there because I have other questions about that.
Sure. Yeah. So me and Eryn actually were friends growing up as children. So actually I was really, it's a funny story. So I was good friends with her brother. I still am good friends with her brother. So he's like one of my best friends. Me and Eryn are actually 3 years apart. So she had the biggest crush on me when she was young. She said she's liked me since she was 12. Every now and then she'll post that. Hey, I've liked him since I was 12, things of that nature. So I was always that guy. We grew up in church together. So we had this strong, church group, church family type knit. But Micah was my guy. But when you're that's just her brother's name.
Yeah.
But when you're in high school and you have that 3rd year difference, it's like, Now there's every now and then you'll see a guy who will date that, and it's very weird when a girl does it. But anyways, there's every now and then a guy will date 3 years out of his age. But I'm not doing that. In high school, I was like, no, I'm good. 3 years is too big. Obviously, when you're an adult, you don't understand that these things don't matter anymore. So she really had a big crush on me throughout that time period, but she was out that side, that mark. I had those rules. I'm like, no, I'm not
Now,
doing it.
did you think, were you like, oh man, if she was only like 2 years, or were you just like, no, she's just a kid?
At that time, I was just trying to learn my way through, and I had other girlfriends, and that I just didn't even think about it. That 3rd year was like, So it was just something that I just wouldn't even go for. But the funny thing is, tables turned. So she liked me so much when she was younger. I ended up going to college. She had, she's ended up growing. She's maturing. She has, guy friends who's really liked her, was crazy about her. When I graduated college, I became crazy about her. So now I was like, oh, shoot, like this girl's growing up. She's beautiful. Everybody else knows she's beautiful. I wanted to take my chance. I wanted to be with her. And she just wasn't interested in me.
Good.
Yeah, you say good.
Because you deserved a little of that. You needed to chase a little bit. That's the thing about them tables, Sherome. They always turn.
They do. They do. I want to say that was bad, but you're right. That was good. And you really, what the cool thing about it is, about me, if it didn't happen that way, it wouldn't have worked. Like, I'm not a person who, if someone was to approach me, like to date me or wanted to holler at me, or someone's a little bit more aggressive on that side of dating.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in that. I got to chase. I got to put my requests out there. And if I don't make my request, I'm going to pass you up every time. I'm like, no, I mean, I wonder why you're a little bit aggressive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So
that's
why
where
are
my
you
mind
so,
goes.
it's a little bit thirsty, maybe.
Yeah, thirsty.
We don't
that's
need
the
any.
word. I definitely didn't want the thirsty.
So you and Eryn decide, okay, and I can imagine you guys are a power couple. Like, I saw you guys in action, but not even just with ICE and Eryn Pink, but like in your lives together. And you probably have a very specific vision of what you guys are today and what you're looking for and the legacy that you're wanting to leave. I suspect.
Well, you know what? The funny thing you say that, at the core of what we do is family. We're really big on family. I've had some really great opportunities. It's different jobs, different roles, things here locally in the city. I have nothing bad to say about any of them. But what I would say that I've made big changes and big decisions based upon my family. It took me a while to get to that. And so now I get the pleasure, and I want to say this clearly, I get the pleasure of working alongside my wife.
Give me the get to, because Gretchen and I say that all the time.
Yeah.
Just about working out or whatever. It's like, you don't have to. You get the opportunity to.
That's right.
And if you have that one mind shift every day when you leave your house, that you get to do something, because guess what? Not everybody gets to.
Not everybody gets to. But I will say this, though. There's a graduation that needs to take place in the mindsets of individuals. And once you kind of recognize that, man, we were created to be creative. Like, God made us creative. So we got tools, we got hands, we got minds for a reason. And and you will play a role in certain areas. You do need to go to work. You do need to have the phases of learning from people and understanding organizations and structures. But once you recognize that you're talented and that you're gifted, you can create the life that you wanted to live. And so right now, me and Eryn have created this life that we're doing our family. Like, that's what we want to do. Do I work late nights? Of course, being an entrepreneur, you work late nights, but sometimes, I get to flex that. So from 4 to 7, I'm with my kids. I'm going to pick up my kids. We're going out to eat. We're going to dinner. If I go back to doing work at 8 o'clock, so be it. But then I still go to bed and go and talk to my wife. I'm going to do what I want to do. Then I'm going to wake up when I want to, So I've created my life around the family, getting back to what you were saying.
I have goosies over here. I do. I have literal goosebumps because not just because of your energy, but you're what, 36, 37?
I'm 37 now.
Okay. Our world that we live in, if you look on Instagram, if you look anywhere, it's all about make money, succeed, grind, repeat, and nothing will get in the way of that.
Yeah.
And I feel like you have figured out at a very early age what is important. And I'm going to tell you something. I just can't wait to see what you continue to do, because not everybody, especially at your age, has that perspective and gets it. It takes people till they're like in their rocking chair going, oh, I wish I would have prioritized my family. I mean, here you and Eryn are with your whole lives ahead of you. Like, I just think it's very powerful.
I appreciate that.
I really
need
do.
to take more time to celebrate that. But which we don't. I don't know if we do or recognize that, but I really appreciate you saying that.
And I mean, it's from the outside looking in, it's there. And speaking of kids, tell me ages, names.
Yeah, so I have these little bossy children. Who
Shocking. That shocks me that they would be commanding and bossy.
Yeah, that they have their own ideas, but they're really adorable. They're Arabella. She's 6 years old, and she'll be 7 next month. My first child, my pride and my joy. Love everything about this girl. She's in competitive cheer. She's an artist. I mean, she has the artsy side, the hunger. She loves to win. Sometimes I'm like, did I raise this kid? Because she wants to win more than I want to win, and I'm intimidated sometimes. But I really love everything about her. Great energy. Me and her energies match. I always say, hey, Eryn, like, she's like me. You're like my son. So my son, he's 3 years old. His name is Caleb. So Arabella and Caleb are our kids. Those are our two. We're probably done from there. No, not probably. We're definitely done from there. But they're just really a joy. My son, he has a worker attitude. I mean, he just wants to fix things. He wants to do things. And they got these, what I love about my kids is they've came into this world when me and Eryn have done the self-work. And there's still more work for us to do, right? But like, we've worked on our fears. We've kind of worked on our spirits, and we're always trying to like re-educate ourselves and find better ways to be better. But the thing about the world that my kids get to see, they didn't see the struggle. And not that we're still made it. We're still figuring things out, right? But they didn't see when I was feeding my dog cornbread. They didn't see that when I was feeding my dog hot dogs, because I had to wait till I got paid to be able to figure it out. I mean, they're looking at the part where we're confident, we're declaring, we're doing self-affirmations. They watch us pray. They watch us, believe things and just make things happen that we didn't have before, right? And so as we're still on this journey, right, because there's still a lot to do, they come into that. And so when I look at their reflections of how they think about things and the energy that they talk to me and they talk to strangers, I'm like, I didn't have that, but I'm just so grateful. It was because they walked into that. They were born into, the sweat equity that was put in for us to get to where we are now mentally, I would say, and which will obviously materialize. Yeah. So
no, that's amazing. I love that. So when did you and Eryn then, because I want to give a lot of shine here to ICE and Eryn Pink and exactly what that is today, but how was that born from the two of you?
It's funny because me and Eryn both had innately like these ideas that we wanted to give back to youth. We started doing things with our church, with different church programming. just wanted to serve the youth and things of that nature, Sunday school teachers, all the above. But at one point, when church wasn't able to kind of hold or had the capacity to kind of hold onto the ideas that we had and the ways we wanted to give to the community, Eryn found it a way. She said, I'm going to do this slumber party for girls. Let's just do that. I want to paint their nails. I want them to feel pretty. I want them to feel confident, things of that nature. And so she just did that on her own one day. And it just worked out. It was a success. It was just fun, and it was just life motivating for her. And then same thing for me. My story is a little bit different. And so even having 4 parents in college, I hit a point where it was very hard for me. And it got hard, not because that I wasn't smart or wasn't capable, but I was noticing things that other students were doing that was very simple, that I was like, I had 4 parents. How come I didn't know how to do these simple things? And it came down to what I learned at college was it's time management and organization. And I'm like, how come I'm not successful at this? How come people just know what to do? They know how to party. They know how to go back and study. They said, if I make this task, if I do this checklist, if I do this, I go back to it. I had students who I was in class with, and I would just see them just do all crazy type of things. They were just all over the place, but they just knew how to execute. No one taught me how to execute. How come I don't know how to execute? And so I was a point where I was just looking in the mirror and I was like, I'm almost like crying. I'm like, what's wrong with me? And so what I recognized was when I was motivated to teach young men this skill about, how to be better young men, I was like, everybody teaches you, they tell you why they tell you didn't get the job. They don't tell you why you didn't get the job. I was like, don't you think that people should know why they don't get a job? And so I wanted to make my mission to teach young men that. I want them to know the unspoken rules. I was funny because I used to do a social media post about unspoken rules. Like, if I go into the bathroom with another man, don't stand next to me. Like there's another empty stall. Like, you know what I mean? Go to that stall. That's an unspoken rule, right?
Yeah.
So
etiquette.
Right? Yeah. Etiquette, right? So I think you should know that. So it's funny. There's a series of those things. But anyways.
That's great.
So I'm like, okay, what is the unspoken rules about? So I get a denial letter from a job, but they don't tell me that, they didn't like my tie, or that I should have wore a tie when I came in, or they should have told me that I had a stain on my suit. I remember we did a career expo in college, and someone said, you know what? He was a big construction guy. He owned this big firm, and he was like, this guy came in with a stain on his suit. I'm like, how would I know that was important? Mm-hmm. Like, oh, you should have came in with a haircut, or you should have came in with, what? One even guy said, he was one of the people in that same career expo. He said, the guy came late. He parked in the wrong parking spot. He was mad because he recognized, hey, because you parked in the wrong parking spot, that told me that you're running late. You're not on time. You're unorganized. You don't follow instructions. I'm like, guys, people should know this.
Yeah.
Your resume won't tell you this.
No.
Your application won't tell you that. And so I want men to win. Mm-hmm. I want young boys to win. I still want them to win. I'm really happy about that. That motivates me because I want them to win so badly. And so because I didn't win. And so now I'm creating a way for other people to win. And that's what's really motivating me and my wife to do the work that we're doing now.
Yeah. And it's like when you know better, you do better. And it is those little things that if no one's there to teach you, like some of these kids don't have people teaching them at home. Not every kid has 2 parents and has the type of environment that maybe you grew up in or
Yep.
And so for you guys to be supplementing that with ICE Mentors and Eryn Pink it's beyond everything.
Yeah. I appreciate that. And it's funny because it doesn't matter the dynamic of the family. Like, so there's a student who can grow in a single parent household. They have 2 parent households. They can have blended family like mine. There's going to be gaps.
Yep.
And so you need gap fillers.
Yeah.
And so you need people to say, okay, you might not have known this at home, or maybe your parents thought that you knew this.
Yeah.
Maybe they were doing everything right and they just expected you just to kind of like, fall into this wealth of knowledge, but it just doesn't happen that way. And so we're gap fillers.
And it's a good point. You make that point because even if you do have like the quote unquote perfect family on paper, those 2 parents only know so much and only focus. No one's a catch all for everything.
Absolutely.
So you're right.
Absolutely. We're all in the grind. We're all trying to figure it out. Everybody's trying to make a way, make a living, And it's not intentional. I don't think it's intentional. Like, there's some things that when people want to say, man, your parents should have told you this, or you should have known that. And like, sometimes there's people who are very hard about that. Like, what's wrong with you? Didn't your mom teach you that? And it's like, well, maybe not, because if you think about yourself being in that shoe, you understand that, hey, what you're going through just to make a living for your family, just to make things happen every day, just to get to dinner, right? And so sometimes you need someone to kind of give you a fresh perspective of, if I can flex around my schedules, if I could find a job that will pay me the same rate to do a little bit of the different things in different times or be a little bit more creative. That's my mind thinks now. My mind didn't think like that a while back, right?
Yeah.
So, but if you don't have people to teach you how to be creative, there will be gaps.
Yep.
There will be gaps of information that people you may assume will get at home or your children will get, but you just won't.
Yep.
There can still be gaps with me serving other kids that my kids, I hope that they would just know, and I would just be foolish to think that they're just going to know everything. There's not. I might not even be the voice for my kids.
Right. Well, you'll be one of them.
I'll be one of them. But at some point, they may say, you know what, Dad, your voice is so common. Like, I want to hear somebody else.
Yes. Everybody needs mentors, and mentors can come in very strange places that you would never expect. It could be a coach. It could be a parent of a best friend. That was, in my case, I had, 2 mentors, TT and TT2. You never know where they can, where they can sprout from. But for me, the more mentors that Dane can have, my son, the happier I will be.
That's better. Right.
So I did the one mentoring. I was, given the opportunity to come and mentor that one night with you guys, which was really amazing.
Yes. Thank you, by the way.
Oh my gosh, I want to keep doing it. That's why I want to continue the relationship and, where I can fill in gaps and with my experience kind of help these kids. And, I did have a couple of moments in that experience for me personally that were kind of eye-opening. And so I will say, like, when I first walked in, it was a little bit like, you see all these teenagers are like, who's this? Who is this woman, right?
Yeah.
And then, I'm sure it wasn't lost on anyone that I was the only white person in the room, right?
Yeah.
So part of me's thinking,
I don't think they thought that.
Well, no, not, but, well, come on. Come on. I mean, they didn't notice at all.
No, not at all.
But you know what I was thinking? And I this was a big moment for me.
Yeah.
And this might sound silly to you, or you might be like, you know what? I sat there, and there were probably, 50 kids? And they were so
there were 50
cute.
kids.
They were just so cute. And probably 10 adults.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't remember the last time I sat in a room and I was the only white person. But you know what I mean? Like, I liked it and I sat in it. I'm like, this should happen more often. This should happen more often, right?
Yeah.
And it's about the diverse experiences of people and being in an environment. So insert whatever environment it is that's different from you. To be in an environment where it's like, you're the minority. I was like, you're cool.
Yeah.
It was cool. And then these kids were so receptive. And I felt like even though their ages are kind of weird, like where they're kind of too cool for school, they really were latching on to you guys.
Oh, absolutely.
It was at night. It was 7 p.m. where they could be home on their iPad, whatever.
Yeah.
I felt like they wanted, that was a safe space for them.
It is, absolutely. A big part of what we do is a leadership programming. We do about 3 to 6 cohorts of leadership program a year. But I want to kind of hit the seat at the table, the kind of thing that you kind of talked about a little bit. I think that needs to happen so much more, where you have diverse groups, or maybe you find out what it feels like to be the only one at the table who doesn't look like you. And so much of opportunity is in this world that's like the most, the best opportunities in the world. Being a young Black male or you being a young Black female, it looks like that you are the only person sometimes at the table.
Yeah.
And if you even get a seat at the table, Now, I do see that there are a lot of great things that are happening now, that we are advancing. We're being more awakened. There's a great improvements, but there's still so much more room and more things to be done to make sure that there's equitable opportunities. And so I think people just need to have a conversation, go join a dinner table every now and then, join a lunch table every now and then, come check out some of the things that we're doing and just, see what it's like to be a minority seat in a room where you're mostly the majority, right? To be able to figure out what does that feel like, and how do you navigate that? What are the emotions that you think about? I think that sometimes people, whether it be black, whether it be white, they don't even think about what that feels like because they're so busy just working and congregating amongst your community. And when you realize where power comes from and then where opportunities are managed from, you don't really see how that affects you until you get into those type of environments when you need a job, or you're looking for business, or you're looking for, advancement in whatever it is, maybe it be finances or things of that nature.
And I agree, and I'm glad we're having this conversation. And I will tell you, on my side of things, it's scary. Like, I think a lot of people, especially white people, are afraid to, like, I was nervous to bring that up because I'm like, well, what if Sherome doesn't want to talk about that? And am I saying things because of the way the world is right now? You say the wrong thing and you're, but to me, I have enough, I think, I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't give a fuck university. I care more about getting to the other side and having this dialogue with you than I do what other people think and maybe saying the wrong thing, because my intention is pure.
Absolutely.
But I 100% agree that more white people should be around a situation where they look around and they're like, because it is powerful, and you learn from other people. It's not so homogenous. Like, look around Upper Arlington, you're like, white. Right. Nothing wrong with white people, but I'd like to hang out with, it's very white. And it is getting better, but I look forward to more, just it improving more. So that was one big moment for me. And then another moment that hit me. So, just to frame it up for people that obviously weren't there, you guys would have us, put in groups, and I would sit in a room, and then you'd have about 5 kids come in and kind of talk to me about what they wanted to do. And I would give them a little blurb about me, etc. And of course, kids are awkward and timid, and they get, but there was this one kid, and he was tall, very athletic, handsome kid. And it got to his turn, and he kind of looked at me, and he told me, he wanted to be a professional athlete. And then when we kind of talked a little more, he looks at me, he goes, he's like, I just don't want to struggle. And he said it but in a way of he struggled, it was something where I left there and I was like, God, I'm like, I don't think my son Dane, when he's that age, is going to say, I just don't want to struggle. Like, I want to take whatever the square footage I have, capacity that I have. If I can reach a handful of kids like that and help guide them to something, another lily pad, like, that is everything. It just, he got to me,
It's so much of the story, the ambition behind sometimes what the youth are thinking about is, I want to alleviate the struggle. I had a really great opportunity. We're doing a mentorship program in one of the communities here in Linden community. We're partnering. We do with Columbus Parks and Rec at the Linden Rec Center. And, we just did this analysis the other day. We were just having a conversation about the youth, and we were talking with the young boys. And one guy said, I'm going to move out the hood. I was like, what are you going to do? I said, it was an icebreaker question. What are you going to do with $1 million? I'm going to move out the hood. And he's like, why? Because I don't want to be in the hood. I was like, well, there's some good things, some bad things, all that kind of stuff. But it's so much of, they don't want to struggle. They want to do something a little bit differently. And our job is to figure out, okay, you say you want to do that. Let's figure out what that looks like, right? What does that look like for you? What's the pathway? Does it always have to be sports? And I love sports, right? But even sport, you're not going to go to school for sports.
No,
sports can help you get to school, but that's not why you're going to go to school. What are you going to do when you're in class? Like, what are you going to study, right? And then what are you going to think about when sports ends? Like, okay, so say if you're lucky to do sports to your age 31, you still got a whole life to live, right? And so we want to make sure, yes, sports and yes, and is the motto here.
Yes.
So yes,
backup
and
plan for the NBA or the NFL or something, right?
absolutely, absolutely. Let's figure out, what are you going to study? What are people doing? I like to say it this way, especially when I'm dealing with young males. What are you going to study after sports, or what are the people who have made it in sports doing after? Because I'm not big on killing dreams. I don't want to smash your dreams. If you want to be an athlete, I expect you to go ahead and do and be an athlete, right? But also going to challenge your schedule, because I want to see, what does your schedule look like. I want to know what your calendar looks like, because if you're practicing at the same time that everybody else is practicing, you're not doing any kind of additional training, not any additional studying, you're not looking at any film, any tape, no skill building. I'm like, you're not going to be an athlete. Right? You're not going to do the things that you're saying that you want to do. You don't even believe the things that you say you want to do, because that's what that looks like. But yes, and is the model here.
Yes.
So what else are you going to do to help you get to that road? But when he said, I don't want to struggle, we want to dig into that. That's what we like to do. We like to dig into that mentality. Why do you feel like you have to struggle? Do you know about the opportunities that are there to you? Do you know about trade? Do you know about college? Do you know about military? Do you know what it takes to be able to say, here's my goal? What are the action steps that go to a goal? And then here's how you do it. Because I believe anything's obtainable.
Yes.
Yeah.
With hard work.
Yeah.
With hard work. So back to the ICE, the I in ICE is integrity. What's the I in ICE?
I stands for image.
Image. Okay. So image. And then that's just basically more of what you were saying before on like how you present yourself.
Sure. So the structure of our organization, how it works, ICE Mentors is the overall, the nonprofit. That's the hub. That's where all the organizations. Eryn Pink is a program within ICE Mentors, and ICE, when you just say ICE or Men of ICE or leadership program, that's like the boys side of the programming here. And then we have Epic Ambassadors, which is like a combined of leadership program between the girls and the boys. It's more of a high school feel. So you were able to come to the Epic Ambassadors high school youth program. But just the context, I stands for image, character, and etiquette. And so when we first started it, it was very, very simple. It was like, well, if we could teach them how to have a better image, then they can understand, why image is important, how to use image to its greatness, what are the things that are factors about image that works out for me, the benefits of opportunity when I take care of my image, character, developing it, maintaining it, and etiquette, the do's, the don'ts, and the wins and the why. Like, if we could teach people the rules, then they will understand the things, those unspoken rules behind the system of why they're not getting the opportunities that they want. And so we wanted to be able to have a mission to be able to teach the youth that.
How many of these kids do you usually take on at a time? Is it as many as will come?
I would love to. I would say we get way more requests than we have opportunity to do that. And so as we are looking as an organization to build capacity, whether it be staff as well as resources, right, financially, we want to be in a position where we can have, at all time programming, after school programming, things that where people can really just drop in, and then be able to be there, almost like a typical youth center. Like, we do have a youth center, but for the most part, we put registrations out for our programming. It fills up very, very fast because we've just been fortunate to build relationships with strong families in the community. And so when it comes, we might serve maybe 50 kids at one cohort. Right now, we're doing about 80 kids at one cohort. If we're doing depending on what type of program that we're doing programming all year long. And then we also do signature events, which serves a bigger number of kids at one point in time.
Can you think of any kids in particular that have really flourished through this program? Like, do you have like any stories specifically that kind of fuel you and keep you going?
Absolutely. I'm really proud to, I would say, a part-time plus, one of our employees. She works about probably 35 hours, between 30 and 35 hours a week. She was in the program when she was young. So we've have a history of doing this 10 years. So she's now 22. And so she remembers being that middle school student who was getting, when we were just really, really just starting off, actually 11 years, I'm so sorry. And she was, hey, I remember coming here, learning about, character, being positive, learning about skill sets, about goal setting, things that are going to set me apart. Right. And now she's working with us. in our organization. She's going back and serving the youth and going teaching classes, doing the program coordination. She's building programs and opportunities. I mean, she's just amazing. Her name is Keri.
Shout out to Keri.
Shout out to Keri,
yeah.
right? And she's doing absolutely a great job. I would even say one of not our first group of young males that we worked with from one of our schools, maybe our second one. He was actually 12 years old. I actually have a picture of it. That's just amazing to see. And now he's volunteering with us on Saturdays. And he's 20 years old right now, volunteering with us. He's doing a really great job at 20 years old, making about 50 something thousand dollars in salary. But just comes in and works with us on Saturdays. He's inspiring the youth. He said he uses those same morals and characters and values and leadership training skills that we've given him to help advance himself. And it's just an amazing story to say, man, when I was just barely just putting a program together, to say, how can I go and, support youth in schools, in the community, build programs that they may want to come to, and to be able to see kids come back and work for what you've built from just an imagination, your idea, and from what you just wanted to give back to. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. I'm extremely blessed. We are extremely blessed to do this work.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't be more grateful for it.
So if somebody out there is listening, because I feel like anybody out there we all want to do more. Mm-hmm. We all want to help. I think sometimes the stopping point of doing more or serving is like you get overwhelmed. You don't know how to start. Mm-hmm. This sounds great, but so like we're bringing it to you. Mm-hmm. Like this is an amazing organization where you could actually be a mentor. I mean, and my time commitment for that one particular thing was 2 hours. Mm-hmm. So it's not like it's this crazy time commitment. You can kind of make it what you want to make
Absolutely.
it. But is the mentoring, like if there's someone out there that's a sharp attorney or in some kind of like a doctor or whatever the vocation may be, and they're like, you know what, this would be amazing. I would love to kind of have a youth, maybe, even if it was a shadow situation, like, cause that's what I asked those kids. I was like, if somebody wants to like DM me, or if you want to come in, like I was all about that. And like, I would love to, cause I think that's a great way for kids to learn. And like if
Absolutely.
there was one girl in there that really was like, I want to be an attorney. Like she knew what she wanted to be. And I'm like,
Absolutely.
well, what better way than to get her with an attorney who's successful, maybe even like sit with her for half a day or whatever. How can people best get involved with not only ICE, but the Eryn Pink side?
Absolutely. So we are always looking for leaders in the community to serve our organization in a different way. There's always volunteer opportunities as you spoke to. But one thing, we want to expose them to opportunities and career exploration, which is a big part of what we do. One thing that we always have decided to do as an organization is create opportunities that the youth can fall into. That's our goal. That's our long-term vision, right? And so if we can expose them to other leaders, other lawyers, other financial professionals, other doctors, just all careers, all the above, where you can come in, you could spend 2 hours and you could teach a session, or you can come in and just share your story. That's helpful for us.
Yeah.
Maybe you have a company that gives exposure, that you allow field trips where we can come and tour a facility. We can actually give someone the picture, say, this is what it looks like to work in this field.
Yes.
Right? That's the kind of lane that we would love to be able to create for our youth. And there's other times where you will be able to just, do the general volunteering. You might want to help out with the mentoring. We do that on a regular basis. And then so we have the volunteering, we have the career exploration opportunities. And obviously, hey, maybe you just want to support the organization. We are a nonprofit. Yep. So you want to support by doing donations, or you say, hey, maybe my company will want to sponsor that. Maybe my company would want to get involved in that and with the work that we're doing. We're always looking for sponsorship opportunities to continue to create more opportunities for our youth.
Yeah, and we did a class for a cause, which we didn't raise a ton of money.
Yeah.
But like, again, the opportunity out there, if you're looking for a good cause to donate to.
Sure.
And didn't you guys just win a pretty significant grant too? That was a cool thing for you guys. I was reading about it.
We have won a few significant grants. So we had one that was a Goldman Sachs.
Yeah, that one. That was the one I was reading about. That's awesome.
Yeah, so Goldman Sachs awarded us over a 2-year period. And so we're really excited about that. That was very helpful. We have supporters from Encova has been a supporter, Huntington, PNC, You know, I don't want to miss any names.
It's okay. Well,
but we're still looking for more
Yeah.
supporters because, you know, we have much more demand than what we're able to really do. But we have some very strategic goals over the next 2 to 3 years of how we can continue to obviously scale our team, move forward to another facility, even in our facility where we're our youth center now. We serving the amount of kids that we have. We can do them all at once. I mean, our Rolodex of we serve over 1,024 students over the year. So that's we need more opportunity to be able to do that.
Yeah. Well, if you're out there and you hear this and you have the access and the, you know, the capability to potentially draw in some type of experience for these kids, I mean, it really is what they're doing is absolutely phenomenal. And, you know, you're stuck with me now. So I'm going to be like on your coattails, like, hey, how can I help? What can I do? Right.
Well, we're glad to be stuck with you, Keri.
Hey, you know what? Like, what people will tell you out there, it's kind of hard to get rid of me once I latch on. So just look out.
That's awesome.
Okay, so I've been, and I talked to you just briefly about this. We're going to switch subjects.
Okay,
I want to
cool.
get into your head a little bit more about some other things. I'm troubled by a lot of things happening right now in the world. And so I've been all over this gun violence thing. And of course, it's like, of course you are, because then, you know, this Nashville thing happens and now you're all up on it and then it subsides. What are you going to do? Right?
Yeah.
What is your... Are you like, I'm sure you're outraged, beyond outraged. Like, what do you and Eryn talk about? Like, how are we protecting our kids? I'm afraid to walk in to Target.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know where your head's at with this,
Yeah.
but I went into Target the other day with my son to buy a birthday present. And I'm not kidding you. I'm looking for the doors that go back into the storage. I'm figuring out, like, okay, could we hide in are the shelves, like, what? I mean, I go like into really bad places in my head. What are your thoughts?
Well, we have a lot of thoughts. I mean, seeing what just happened in Kentucky was rough. That was hard. You know, there's two different ways I can go with this, but even I would say I'll do this first. The one in Nashville really struck a chord with me as well. That was at a school. I got my kids. My kids go to school. And what really struck me is because it was the way the gunman did the shooting in Nashville. And then, so just talking about what you're referring to. And I was thinking out loud as I saw the glass that was shot out of the window and I saw the gunman actually, you know, walk through the glass. And I'm like, you know, this wasn't a door that was left open. This wasn't a door that, you know, someone just like miscellaneous just didn't pay attention to. It wasn't like it wasn't locked or anything like that. They actually shot through the glass of the window. Now, I don't know every situation that's happened that's been an attack on school, but I don't know if I've seen it done like that, right? And I was almost worried in my conversation with Eryn. I was like, I don't know what they would have done to defend that. Because they're not just sitting, unless you like arm the schools and put guards out there out the door. You could put a gun post or, you know, something that kind of scans them when someone comes in. I'm drawing a blank. Gun detector, right? Yeah, you're right, weapon detector, whatever it may be. You could put that on a door. That wasn't going to stop that. And no one's like paying. I mean, obviously you have school security, but you're not paying for that type of opportunity, right? Where you have security outside your door. You don't want your kids to go to that type of school. So I didn't see any kind of win there or opportunity there. Obviously, I love the response of the police. Yeah. They had a great response from what I saw. Yep. But that was hard. That was very, very hard to see. And so, I mean, it's getting harder to go to places that are common areas because you just don't know what's going to happen. It happened in Walmart, like you just said, like in Kentucky, happened at the bank. But I'll tell you what I do. I still have a lot of peace. I don't have as much humanity and hope in humanity as much as I have in God. And so I'll tell you this, what I did very recently with my wife. I was at a point before we got to building the business, the organization, the way we were doing, you know, I was out working. My wife stayed at home. You know, she stayed at home with my kids, with my first child a lot. And I had to get my mind over this. I said, you know what? Like, I was just thinking about, man, how I'm going to protect them. You know, we had a huge spike in, you know, break-ins and things that happened in my area that I was living in. And I was just like, you know, I'm not going to get worried and just fear. I told myself, God, you could do a better job than I can. Like, there's no other way that I can do this. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, not take my kids to school? I even if I were to homeschool kids, would I give this? And I love people who do the homeschooling. I have good friends who do homeschooling. I love it. It's just not for me.
Yeah.
So how do I have to uproot what I'm doing just for this? I think I'm responding in fear, and I don't believe in that. I want to respond in faith. And so I said, you know what, God, you could do better than I can. I just have to believe it. I just have to trust you. Like, that's it. And I don't know. I do think that's a relationship thing. I do think that's, I think that's available for everybody to feel that way, but I think it's a relationship thing. But that's a relationship that I have with him, and I'm able to live my life. I'm like, I'm going to go to Walmart.
Yeah.
I'm still going to go to the bank. I'm still going to go, I'm still going to do the things that I need to do because I can't live in that level of fear. And if something were to occur, I believe I'm going to be protected or there's a better outcome. But I have to move on. Like, I have to live. And I do. And I want to trust that the people who are in office in my city will make the best decisions. And I'm going to make sure I do my part to make sure they make the best decisions, because I'm going to scream.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you my opinion. But I'm not going to live in fear.
Do you have these same visions though at all like I have, or am I just crazy? Like, when you walk in somewhere, are you looking for escape routes, or I'm trying to judge my crazy on somebody else's. Like, do you do any of that?
I don't know if that's crazy as it's wise. I think that it would be more foolish of us to not think that things happen, right? So I think it's wise for you to, just like if you were to go to, every Wednesday, your community does a tornado drill because they believe tornadoes can happen,
right?
And so they want you to be prepared, right? So, firemen, when they come and observe a building, when you have to do a permit on a building, they'll say, you need to be mindful where the exits are. You have to know where your exits are. You have to be aware of your surroundings. So I think that there's some level of wisdom to being aware of your surroundings. And there's also some level of wisdom to things of what you do at what time that you do it, right? I'm not going to the store late at night. Like, why go to the store late at night? Like at 12 o'clock midnight, 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. I should probably wait till tomorrow. Or I should reprioritize my time. Or I should probably reschedule some things. I should just be more mindful, right? Don't do things by yourself. Use a buddy system. It's just, we have to be conscious of understanding that there are people who are challenged. Maybe they're sick. Maybe there's different things. Maybe they're unhappy or whatever it is that they're working on. So there's things that can happen in this world, and they are going to happen. But here, another thing is, they've been happening.
Well, that's right.
For years, like centuries, right? I think that media has changed, right? Our information, the way that we get information has changed. But I think that we've always have seen these things. I even think about COVID, right? And COVID was a really big deal. And prayers for all those who've lost their loved ones and their families and things like that is very sad. But have you heard of bubonic plague? Like, wiped out millions. Like, millions. Like, they thought it was the end of the world. I'm sure they thought it was the end of the world.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. But don't you think the gun violence, like, is it just me? It's happening more. Or maybe it's just I don't know, like the semi-automatic weapons and it just feels more to me. Maybe it's just maybe I'm just like, what do you call it? Woke? Like,
no,
like I'm just awakened.
Like, no, I do think it's happening more.
But your perspective though, because I want to add another layer on this, because everybody knows out there too that, like, being a black man, you have an extra layer of what the fuck is going on around here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I could tell you story upon story about my ass getting pulled over and the way that I was treated. And that's, I'm white and I'm blonde and all this.
Yeah.
You have an extra layer of worry just walking around.
Absolutely.
So for you to be, not led by fear is very important.
Yeah.
Because let's talk about that a little bit.
I don't even just say it's like extra layer of worry. I would say even I have an inherited worry.
Yeah.
Because of the history of seeing the violence that's done to African-American males, African-American females, families in general, right? So inherited history of, when I was growing up, my mom was the one that says, hey, you know what? You make sure you keep both of those hands on the steering wheel at all times. She said, "You, yes, sir. You know, I don't even train you." She didn't train me to be a yes, sir, no, sir, man person. No, she wasn't a yes, ma'am. She's like, "I don't need you to do that for me." She was like, "No, you could say me, yes, mom." That's how we grew up. She says because she didn't like the idea of it sounding like slavery, where they had to go yes, sir, and yes. She didn't like that idea, right? We understand the level of respect from that we've kind of accustomed to knowing from that, but that wasn't her practice, right? But when it comes to this situation, she said, "I'm trying to protect your life." So that inherited worry, I had to grow up into that. That's what I had to believe about understanding, hey, that these policemen or whatever their background may be, they're more than likely not going to like you. So I think about what I had to grow up with becoming a young man and thinking, oh man, I don't know how to do that. Now, do I believe that about policemen? I don't believe that about all policemen, but I am definitely cautious. And obviously I have a right to be so.
Yeah.
When you see the news and you see the stories, and we know the George Floyd. I mean, we could go over names. We can know Tamir Rice. There's just so much more that and I have a young black son.
That's what I wanted to get to next.
Yeah.
So it makes me like the feelings that I get about it are, I can't even imagine the feelings you get about it. What I imagine is, you know, you have the talk with your kid, like about the birds and the bees, and you have, everybody talks about that. But when you have a young black son, you have to have a talk about, okay, son, like this is going to be your life experience at some point. So you have to act accordingly. Like, what is that? Like, what goes through your mind with that?
A whole lot. I mean, I've been told they built prisons based upon a 3rd grade reading level. So I'm thinking from now, how is my son going to be educated? How am I going to be able to teach him? I'm looking at the ways that he's being disciplined now, or the way he responds to discipline now. Is he going to be a listener? You know, is he going to be, you know, respectful? Is he going to hear danger? Is he going to see danger? You know what I mean? So I think about that all the time, having a young son, you know, so I can make sure that he grows up and understands, one, not to be in fear, because I don't believe in responding to fear, because I believe fear is death.
Yeah.
I believe in fear is death. Go on and just go on. Like, that's just not living, right? Right. I believe that. And also, like, I'm a man of faith. Faith without works is dead. Like, people want to say, oh, you know, all kind of sins. Well, you can go and do this. This is sin. You can do this, and this is sin. Well, do you know that, like, not being in faith is a sin? To, like, work in fear, right?
Yeah.
No, let's talk about that one, right? No, I don't want my son to grow up in fear. I want my son to grow up confident. I want him to grow up, you know, to be respectful, to be mindful. I definitely know he's also going to be strong. He's also going to have a strong mind. He doesn't have a choice because of his dad, his mom.
You guys he's set up for sure.
Well, I appreciate
you
that.
know?
But those are things I think about. I think about his safety. And this is why people have to get involved. Like, you can't just be a person who doesn't want to go to work every day. You need to understand the decisions that are going around you. You need to understand about policy. You need to understand what's happening in government offices, you know, and the bills. Any bill comes out, you need to read that thing, or just at least know what is it talking about, so I can know how is that going to affect me.
Yeah.
So when you talk about gun violence, it is important. I don't know why people are coming up with these semi-automatic weapons. Why do we have them, right? I mean, I understand people having the right to, you know, bear arms. So I am not against people's rights, right? Because I know my rights and I want mine as well, right? But some of these, like, weapons that are made for, like, mass murder, like walking on the street, like, I don't understand that, right? That scares me a little bit.
Yeah, you're not going to convince me, because I am not anti-Second Amendment. I believe in the right to bear arms, and I don't believe that a lot of people out there who want to have a gun and they want to protect their family or shoot at a range or whatever, I don't believe that is like this core part of the problem. But it's not there's a lot of gray area there that needs to be addressed. And it's not just the guns. Obviously it is, you know, there's this whole talk about mental health and the you know, your family dynamic and all these things. But the obvious thing to me is, at a minimum, you can keep your right to bear arms, and we could maybe make it a little harder for people to get access, especially to these semi-automatic weapons. You're not getting access to a driver's license. You're not able to vote. You're not able to do any of these basic things without a registration.
Yeah, right.
And that's not infringing upon any of your rights.
Right.
So why couldn't you just piggyback on that? Make it a little more challenging to get access to this stuff.
Yeah.
I just, it's just does not make sense to me.
I agree.
You know, and then you sit here and you feel so helpless and so overwhelmed with like what to do. And then you kind of do nothing.
Yeah.
So I think me doing something is just at least turning the camera on and talking about it with smart people.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know what else to do.
I think you're doing the right thing. I mean, we have to converse about these things, right? We have to have more conversations. We have to be able to move this stuff along so it can get, you know, more light, more fire behind it. So people maybe they understand and hopefully they listen and hopefully really make changes.
100%.
I will even say, even in our business, like because when we started this interview, I started talking about family, right? A lot of these things, issues, like I would say this, we wouldn't exist if families were stronger.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of, we have that in the back of our mind. We understand that we're seed sowers, that we're looking to improve. At the end of the day, if I was to summarize what we're doing, we're building stronger families. That's not our direct goal, right? We're building these youth to be strong character and all that stuff, but we're trying to build stronger families. Like we want that, because I don't want to grow with my kids have to deal with someone who, you know, maybe they're, you know, whatever their health level is, whether their mental health is, their impact is. But if people were a little bit stronger, and I don't know all the data and the facts that say that, but I do know that if people were more engaged, if people were more engaged with their children, more engaged with their relationships that they have, you know, whether it be their spouses, you know, that if there was more intentionality behind the things that we do, I think we could be stronger.
You know, you just said something though, and I was like, damn, I love this guy. You're a seed sower.
I'm a seed sower.
And it's funny that the other day I was going for a walk and I was thinking about, you know, what you would tell someone on a really basic level of how to be successful in business or whatever. And I was thinking, you gotta plant seeds.
That's right.
And it's just a seed every day. You plant something, and it could be a little, as much as a phone call, a conversation. But what you're doing literally every day with these kids, you're planting seeds.
Planting seeds.
And they're amazing seeds.
And I say that for two reasons. I say that, one, because I say that overall, I need to understand that our responsibility, our level of impact. One for my sanity, and the other one for what's realistic, right? Like, we're going to go out on a limb and do as much as we can for this youth. We're going to give our clothes off our back. We're going to give them money, the resources. It doesn't matter. By the end of the day, I'm a seed sower. I'm going to sow an idea in them. I'm going to sow an opportunity. I'm going to sow something in there, and I'm going to be that voice. I hope to be that voice that says, hey, I remember the conversation I had with Sherome. I remember the conversation I had with Eryn, and they showed me this. I remember doing this program one day. I remember doing this, and this what came out of it. And that's what we really want to be, because everyone has that thought and every memory, but it's important for us to understand that's our role. And at the same time, it's also important to understand that there's things that we may not be able to do. And there's levels, even though we want to do it all, we can't do it all. And so we even have to have role clarity in our day-to-day and understanding, no, we're going to do exactly the best that we possibly can. We're not going to take over an opportunity. We're not going to withhold. You know what I mean? We don't want to be that, but we do want to understand our role. And we're going to sow seeds, and we're going to do it the best way we can, and then we're going to go home.
But you know what? You're doing it.
I appreciate that.
And not everybody is. You know, and I hope that somebody at home is kind of, when they hear this conversation, is maybe like, wow, what can I do? Like in my own little square foot in this world, you know, because I look at somebody like you and Eryn, and I'm like, how do you not want to be better? Yeah. You know? Now I will tell you, Sherome, this has been lots of fun.
Yes.
It's touched on some heavy stuff.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think it's for everybody out there who's afraid to have a conversation because they're afraid to say the wrong thing or they don't want to offend somebody. I really think if you reach your hand across the table authentically and say, I don't know it all, but I see you and I want to learn. I want to know more.
That's right.
And we're not, you know, we have different life experiences, but we're both human beings and we're in the human condition together. So let's figure out how we can capitalize on our diversity and make shit stronger together.
Right. Absolutely.
That's really what the world's about, right?
That's right. We definitely need that. We need more conversations. And for those who are kind of concerned about having a conversation, just have the conversation. just, do it anyway, right? 'Cause
Agreed.
that's the only way we can heal.
Agreed. Well,
Only way we can heal.
you and I are going to have many more conversations down the road. I
Let's
can
do
feel it.
Yeah,
All right.
that's
Thank you
awesome.
so much, Sherome. I appreciate you. And for everybody out there who wants to follow me on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple, I would just be so happy.
Yeah.
And until next time, get involved, ask questions, be more human, and keep moving.